You already mentioned Fnatic, EXO, OG, even in the form of Etsu and Snaze. This team is, I think, the best possible definition of a super team, and they are coming in right now.
Yeah, Vanguard's going to be taken right off of the rip in terms of those ban slots. Magneto taken off for both of these teams. Yoinkanda going to be able to secure the EMEA pick coming on through. Peps not going to be able to ban that one out, but now Peps get the opportunity to insta-ban into insta-save. So if they want to go for a one-sided Luna Snow, they absolutely can have the forecast. Blizzard for them, but it looks like they're going to actually secure the mirror EMEA pick instead.
No snow, but yes, frost, locking in EMEA on both sides as we start to move into some backline protection. And of course, if there is the potential for a Peps Luna protection, you do not want it to be double with the possibility of Loki cloning the fate of both worlds. And we will see the mirror for Team Peps taking it away from Yoinkanda.
Yes, a lot of the strategist backline has definitely been hit by these picks and bans. Peps might want to try and secure the Wolverine. The Wolverine is one of those duelists that they are known for. But it looks like it might actually be a little bit of debate there. They decide to swing for the Punisher instead, as Yoinkanda now are going to be able to have a ban to take away something that Peps have not yet saved. We've already seen the Luna and the Loki get targeted. Magneto has also been targeted. They can't go for the EMEA because Peps have already protected it. Is it going to be a hit onto a duelist, or do they further diminish the strategists? They take the Wolverine that Peps were thinking about protecting, so a very good ban on the side of Yoinkanda.
We know that Blacksaw is one of the most legendary Groot players in the game. So not only have they removed some of the counters for that, they have also opened themselves up with their own Punisher for Monk Murder. It's a classic combo that they love to run, but we did see Peps. They did protect their own Punisher, so they do have at least something to take care of the walls. Now time for
they just ban
final
Groot?
ban. I think they should, honestly, legitimately. It's so strong. They're going to get rid of Storm, though. Very sensible. Storm plus Punisher means you're being hit from two angles, can snipe the backline very effectively. This is going to allow Etsu, though, to move on to the Wolverine of their own.
Yes, Etsu does like playing the Storm, and also if you have a one-sided Storm, then you get to be so much more aggressive. Just like when you have a one-sided Atom, when you have one-sided Soul Bond, any cooldown that either gives you speed boost or damage reduction allows you to just play first. If it's into a mirror, you want to use a second, but if it's into a non-mirror, then you can go immediately into the mix and out-tempo your team, and that's exactly what Peps are going to be looking to secure. My worry is that Storm has suffered into the Psylocke in the past, but then again, with the Luna also having been targeted on the strategist lineup, that Psylocke has been significantly weakened, as Idle Aura is not going to be around to babysit her health bar when she goes out of LOS of her backline and aggressively tries to play into either the backline or take down the duelist in question.
It's a party in the small room as everyone is getting armored up. We are, in fact, seeing Blacks on that Groot. There is a Storm being hovered for Leaf, so they're going to try and bring it, and they're even bringing a Groot of their own.
Oh, a Mega Hurricane combined with Strangling Prison is not going to be a fun one for everyone on Yoinkanda to deal with, as it's going to be Groot for both sides. My eye is going to be on Vertigo, a little bit less proven in terms of experience coming over from these players in this lobby, as Beetle throws in the first of those seeds, just trying to buy a little bit of poke percentage before we move to the actual fight taking place on the low ground, as everyone from Peps scouts out the Wolverine, and everyone bundles up to make sure if he tries to look for a grab, they're going to be able to peel.
Found it with the jump pad from the rocket onto the flyer. Goodbye, Leaf, as they clean up the first pickup of this game. And Yoinkanda going to attempt to capitalize, zoning away, trying to use that percentage damage to punish the EMEA, to get onto the Groot through the wall, not able to isolate them too much, but it's still enough for Monk Murder to get the elimination.
Etsu, full rage as well. Etsu and Snaze can play as aggressively as they want here too. Whenever the EMEA has that charge, the Wolverine with the rage, you're going to be able to melt down these players. Peps immediately spotting that they lost the first fight. They don't want to play the Storm into the retake, especially if the Wolverine's in play, given the fact that health pool and a higher health pool for a Mega Hurricane is going to make this one much easier to target down in the ultimate, as it's going to be up to Beetle to open up the fight, going on for with the Captain America, in part with Leaf on that Psylocke, giving the space for Hard to come through with the final judgment before Etsu has had the opportunity to grab and play out early.
The Groot walls plus that Mind's Aegis, they are shutting down everything. Completely zoning away as they're going to push into that backline. The counter from Muckmuda returning from Spawn, trying to get on through, but the Eternal Bond is making it much more difficult. Takes out Leaf mid-animation again as Etsu finds another pickup onto Harness, and they are in control right now. Silent Seduction for the turnaround, and Cap in the backline. Beetle is going to try and hold this and force Yoinkanda off the point.
Etsu, though, full rage, is just gonna be able to use those Savage Claws and act like the Vanguards are a scratching post right now. This Wolverine is entirely unstoppable. It could well be a 100-0, as even though Peps are going to have the Invis boundary to place onto the point, whether they'll actually get to use it on the point is another matter entirely, as Black Side can utilize the Strangling Prison and just catch them before they even hit the point to stop OT.
Culling turret up on the high ground. This is how they got taken out last time. Leaf was able to get the flank and get the quick blow up. This time will not be so lucky, as Muckmuda out of the turret already will be backing up. Blacks is taking a lot of damage here, going to get healed up. Looks for the regauge. They have that Strangling Prison, trying to put some punishment onto the EMEA process. Harness once again with the final judgment and the invisible boundary for the counter, and this time with the Carbon Crush they lock down Blacks and get the elimination, voicing Yoinkanda off the points.
Yeah, Yoinkanda tried to survive it with Invis boundary rather than Eternal Bond. They will have Eternal Bond, but the next fight, crucially, against the Psylocke, and potentially if DRP wants to throw in Psionic Seduction to better lay up Leaf's ultimate, having that CC block from Vertigo's Eternal Bond is going to be very good for overall survivability. As Yoinkanda still holding on as well to the Strangling Prison, playing up onto the high ground. They don't have to worry about clearing off a Wolverine. They want to clear off the Punisher turret first, but that's giving time for Leaf to wrap all the way around. If they play to split, if the backline hovers backwards rather than going aggressively with the front line, this Psylocke ultimate is going to get maximum value.
Leaf going to be backing away, gets pulled in with the Force Physics, but will not be picked up here. There's a lot of hypermobility there. Larry able to just get away from Muckmuda, who was going in for the full blow-up, as Etsu will get sniped by Beetle. Dance in the butterfly once again shut down. Leaf just cannot get this off.
That's so unfortunate. He starts the ultimate so incredibly low. Peps, though, were able to utilize its silver lining as a distraction. Yoinkanda had to mobilize to take the Psylocke down before the ultimate came through, and it allowed Peps to just keep holding on with this Punisher, as well as the double Vanguard, the EMEA and the Captain America, just too stalwart for Yoinkanda to remove. They still haven't burned their ultimates, though. Strangling Prison from Blacks hasn't had an opportunity to use it. Peps doing a very good job of cutting the Groot down before these fights begin, as they've been able to scout out Etsu's location and already force the Wolverine back.
Trying to creep their way in from the flank side. Introduction from Snaze. There's a big ultimate advantage in favor of Yoinkanda, as DRP is going to match 1-for-1, trying to pull them in as they drop to the low ground. Yoinkanda, they need to creep in as it's 94%. They have to touch the point, but Leaf is on the backline with the Cap. Straggling Prison comes on out. Muckmuda just makes it into the invisible boundary to get that follow-up damage, as DRP will be taken out by Snaze. Blacksuit pushing on through the invisible boundaries, preventing the follow-up, as they will get melted by Harness, who held on to the final judgment. Beetle's in the backline, but if Etsu can find the isolation, this could be big in overtime. Yoinkanda trying to hold this. DRP is going to teleport back in.
DRP goes for the range, like you said, for that teleport play. Dance of the butterflies from Leaf catches all of the players from Yoinkanda off of that point, and that's Peps managing to shore up their numbers. They're trying to body block. Flax has gone for a strange teleport of his own, and it allows Vertigo to come on through with the Eternal Bond. Yoinkanda suddenly have all of the sustainability. Peps are going to have to just absorb the ultimate and try and come back with the picks afterwards, but they're not given the opportunity to do so. Muckmuda comes out with the final judgment, and Peps are ripped apart.
The immediate counter, Larry with the triple on the cloak. takes out Etsu, and Peps got the first round. They got the turnaround. They just got that Eternal Bond in time to sustain through the last part of that fight, allowing the turnaround with the Terror Cape, with the burst. What a counter from Peps.
Oh, Cloak and Dagger. I don't want anyone saying Cloak and Dagger is weak. These Cloak and Daggers have been healing 22,837 from Larry in one round, and crucially, only visited respawn once. Like, it's so important and impactful, the AoE heal that is attached to the primary, the Light Force Dagger for the C&D, because it means that your strategist ultimate, it builds up so incredibly quickly in those overtime fights, where so many bodies are stacked one on top of the other, and one Light Force Dagger is going to be bouncing out onto multiple players and just rocket charging up the Eternal Bond.
They got the Eternal Bond, they got the wraparound from behind into the Terror Cape, into the burst. He is literally 4-1 right now. He is in the backline causing problems. What a huge save from Larry. Hardest speed boosts the team out with that Jeff. Swaps to the Punisher as they can, of course, zipline back into their team.
Etsu, this time around, not on the Wolverine, gonna be on the Psylocke. Trying to just put up a little bit of pressure, potentially also trying to just poke down some of these Vanguards before the fight properly picks on off. Yoinkanda getting into position, but Beetle is already in the back line. Snaze opens up the fight though, finds the pick onto DRP. Without that Emma, there's no diamond form. There's nothing to just stop Yoinkanda from getting aggressive and walking forward, and they will be able to pick up the first fight.
Beetle in full retreat, being chased down by Etsu. Yoinkanda, they are full of rage. They are back to reclaim point number 1. They want these points. They want to move on, but they're going to have to wait for the re-engage of Peps.
Leaf goes over to the Winter Soldier, so we are going to have counter dive play coming on for new variants of CC, as well as potential pressure for Blacks to try and force some of these walls defensively rather than aggressively, as Beetle is just the epitome of aggression right now. In he goes, making sure that he gets to play his full life, as Etsu on the side lane keeps up the pressure. Hardest forced to go in with the final judgment, trying to chunk down the ammo before Psionic Seduction can just spell the undoing of the team.
The Dart of the Butterfly into the straggling prison for the attempted burst. Yoinkanda trading 2 for 1 as Beetle with the freedom charges, keeping everyone off the point. DRP with the Psionic Seduction to shut down the remaining people who have pushed up here. Nice catch onto Etsu for Hardest to pick up the elimination, leaving just Blacks to get zoned out by the map transforming, and they're going to get a little trapped here if they're not careful, but they will be able to escape.
This is potentially dangerous for Yoinkanda, although they're holding on to this point, they're not giving it up. Larry is going to have the Eternal Bond, but he's not going to get the opportunity to use it. DRP goes down, split away from the players of Peps before the CD can ult to save the Vanguard, and now with final fight approaching, DRP is forced to go for the strange teleport.
Hardest is sieging in, making it seem like they're pushing down the main route, but it's all about this portal up to the high ground for the re-engage. They get a little bit stuck with themselves here, but it's going to be the final engage. Nice force physics to try and put the team in 2 as Larry is forced immediately to drop the Eternal Bond. Final judgment to once again focus Gru, who gets melted.
Huge melt on the group before Blacks could come on through with that strangling prison. Yoinkanda could potentially have played for second swing of that fight, given the fact that, like you said, force physics forced out the Eternal Bond so early into that engagement. But with the hit onto the group, Yoinkanda were not able to play for second, and now they're going to have to play into the retake. Yes, they're on 99%, but it is a scenario that we have seen multiple times. Teams 99% down on domination have been able to find the turnaround all the way from 0 to 100, and Leaf still holding on to Kraken Impact could very well be the meal ticket that begins Peps' approach.
Holding on, they have the invisible boundary as well, so they can try and capitalize all the way through it. Eternal Bond dropped extremely early. Here's the dive, straggling prison to push on through. Etsu melts 2, 3, Montpuna onto DRP, and Yoinkanda clean up off the board, and they got them all so close together that I don't think a portal can come out in time. Yoinkanda are going to even up the score here.
1-1. We're going to go another round, and now it's so important that both of those teams in that last fight didn't just take a match and torch their ultimate economy, because in domination you carry that ultimate charge over So these teams are still going to have ultimates to kick off this first fight. It's not neutral. It's not even at all. Leaf has not been able to utilize his Kraken Impact a singular time. By the way, he's been holding on to this for 3 fights in a row.
Had the similar problem with the Dance of the Butterfly earlier on. Yoinkanda are just so locked in on Leaf, just making their job as difficult as possible. Right now, Monkmuda and Etsu both with 8 final hits themselves. But it's not too far behind for Peps, Hardest and Leaf, both with 6. They're creeping up. And the fact is, this is even so far, but with ultimates 3-3.
Vertigo, having burned their ultimate in the last fight, actually swaps over to the Penny to give everybody the armor packs. So Yoinkanda are going to have a little bit of a lead in terms of the overall sustainability when it comes to size of health bust. This Black's out, back on that Groot now. Peps going to have to think very hard about how they want to commit against a Groot. You can't go into side lane. Not playing inside those small claustrophobic spaces. You have to play a little bit more out in the open, and that's going to lengthen out the poke phase, allowing Yoinkanda to actually creep towards some of the strategist ultimates.
Monkmuda dropping the final judgment extremely early. Aya Vagamono comes on out, gets 3 members, Etsu, Vertigo, and Sylvie, but they're still taking on through as Monkmuda is picking off DRP right now. Leaf finally got the Kraken Impact, taking out Monkmuda. That's most of the damage done onto the EMEA, pushing through the smoke bomb. They can't find the target right now, and Leaf unable to get the reset, is going to get zoned out, but the healing output is insane, finding Blacks.
I mean, Leaf was utilizing Kraken Impact, yes, to try and find picks, but also to take advantage of the CC immunity, and then he gets to survive. One of the really critical things about Winter Soldier is that even if you don't hit your abilities, it still gives you shielding. So he's receiving that shield from his invis, but he's also, every single time he uses one of those cooldowns, getting shielding himself, which allows Peps to hold on, live. The burst damage is coming through from Yoinkanda, and now they're in control of this point. They can put so much more pressure onto Blacks, who's going to have to burn a lot of these glue walls just to guarantee the team's safe engagement as the Dance of the Butterflies comes through. But everyone from Peps are so stacked, they're able to just spread the damage amongst them. Invis Boundary comes out, but Hardest even through it goes down.
Gets targeted completely by the EMEA. Everyone moves in while Blacks wasn't able to find the straggling prison. They are able to drop a huge amount of damage output. Leaf and DRP go down as well. And Yoinkanda are dominating this fight. Spore Bomb Impact elimination there. Aura is picked off. And we are seeing Yoinkanda claiming some points back, but it's almost 50% already for Peps.
Beetle is going to have Psionic Seduction. However, Monkmuda comes on through with that final judgment. Also gives you CC immunity. So the Emma ultimate is not going to have the same level of pressure. It's going to be a race between these two teams to try and deny the win conditions. As a Punisher turret comes out from Hardest, ripping into all of the defenses, coming on through from Yoinkanda, allowing his teammates to start moving on forward, taking away these group walls, getting Beetle into a forward enough position that Psionic Seduction can potentially be used. And Monkmuda wants to slam that door immediately shut. Out comes the final judgment before Peps can get on point.
Trying to focus onto that cloak and dagger as they dash on through. The Eye of Agamotto finds nothing as DRP is wiped off the board. Leaf gets caught in the Carbon Crush, but the extra healing from that Eternal Bond is giving them a lot of extra time. Etsu Dance of the Butterfly finds no one else. DRP can pull them back in if they need to, but I expect they'll probably try and wait this one out. Snaze with that Psionic Seduction expiring. Leaf is targeting them this time.
Leaf on that side lane is about to get pressured out by Etsu, as Hardest is actually going to utilize this final judgment. Yoinkanda's play is a little bit split. Peps think that they have the advantage. They're going to be able to shred through the Groot walls. Might as well be putting them in a paper shredder right now, as Hardest is able to round the corner and take down the stragglers, and Peps will be able to find the flip, but it comes at the cost of a strange portal.
They are completely ulted out. Vertigo has that Eternal Bond here. We're at 77 for Yoinkanda to 60 for Vive Peps. They have their opportunity to try and make their way back in. But Yoinkanda, they do have almost that Dance of the Butterfly. Invisible Boundary almost here, but that's a pickup with the Bionic Hook. Leaf takes out Etsu and Blacks.
Oh, that was such a crucial pick too. Etsu was so close to Dance of the Butterflies. Peps now have got a window of grace to build up the strategist ultimates, and they're just going to keep pressuring. They're going to force Yoinkanda into potentially investing in ultimate before the fight goes over to point, draining their resources away. They think better of it, however, as Leaf backs up a little bit further, waits until he has the Kraken impacts in play, but all the while Larry and Orasteel are building their defenses. They're going to have ultimates by the time that Yoinkanda balls.
A lot of damage coming out. Trying to push on in hardest with the culling turret. The walls will block them out a little bit here as here comes Final Judgment from Mukmuna. Eternal Bond to keep them topped up as they're trying to push on in. Larry is trying to counteract as Mukmuna comes in one more time. Again, finds them. Kraken impact will come in. Leaf taking out Snaze. Etsu gets hardest with the Dance of the Butterfly as Mukmuna is cleaning up right now. This could be it for Yoinkanda to get themselves back in as Beetle, the last remaining person on the point, is wiped, but Yoinkanda used everything.
Yeah, Peps weren't able to use 2 of their ultimates. One last fight. Peps have a very small opportunity. DRP has got to go onto the Venom just to guarantee that one of them has the touch, as the Strange TP is still on cooldown. If Yoinkanda can find the Venom and deny the potential tap with the EMEA Diamond Form, it's all over.
Leaf is creeping in from the side as well. Here comes Hardest to create an opening with the Final Judgment. Trying to get onto Blacks. They've touched. Overtime ticking down, but they're not finding any elimination. Snaze will finally get picked up as they run them down here. Claiming on the point as overtime ticks down. Peps reclaiming control. Yoinkanda, they have to pull the trigger. They have to step up. Blacks using the wall to buy a little bit of extra time here, but everyone else is getting picked up off to the side. There's no one left to touch.
It was the ultimates. Peps just had the ultimates for that last fight. And they do such a good job too of organizing who goes for the touch. It's really risky if you send DRP into touch first. So they actually put it to Hardest so that he comes in with the Final Judgment, that CC immunity. Even if they're playing into an EMEA who has Diamond Form up and available, she can't grab him out of his ultimate. And then we saw the amount of pocket that Punisher was getting. Orasteel donates the Guardian Shield and actually staggers it out. For every single step that Hardest takes, the Guardian Shield gets repositioned so that the Punisher gets that shield block, gets that heal, has the means of rounding the corner, of denying the players on the side of Yoinkanda, who heard the Punisher voice line and scattered off into the far corners of that point, trying to hide out and live. They were denied that window of hiding as the Punisher was just free to go wherever they pleased.
The damage output was insane. It was even being boosted by Larry, who not only did the highest healing with 57k, they were even able to get eliminations, do some good damage output of their own, and boost Hardest damage output on that Punisher. This was just a well-executed comp by Peps, timed well with those ultimates, like you said, and making it so much harder to get onto the targets they needed.
Yeah, I mean, Peps' coordination, no matter the iteration of roster, has always been on point. It's always been absolutely stellar. And getting to see them just work off of cloak cooldowns, getting to be incredibly aggressive for those points when everyone is vulnerable on the side of Yoinkanda, and then also making sure that everyone is stacked on top of each other so that Larry builds that ultimate super quickly. When Veil of Light Force is up, everyone is stacked on top of each other so they're all getting the 15% healing boost while sitting inside the dagger dome. You can even see here, Hardest health bar barely plummets because he's getting to play inside so much strategist utility coming on through from the side of his backline.
And with that, Peps take the lead in this best of 3. We already talked that we thought this game would be close, and we are right. Team Peps, they've been away as opposed to being a full roster. They've been playing individually on different teams. They've come back, reunited, and showed that they are here to stay.
It's surely going to be now. Game number 2, adaptation has to come out. Instantly, my question is, do you take out the Cloak and Dagger? Because Luna, incredibly strong. Loki also incredibly strong. But Cloak and Dagger, as we've seen, like Peps, their game plan just revolving timings around that particular strategist and the utility that comes alongside it is probably next to none we've seen so far. But we'll see with game number 2 after this break.
And welcome back with Team Peps taking game number 1. We need to see how Yoinkanda adjust. We were talking in the break about how do you deal with this cloak and dagger, because if you ban it, you leave Luna, you leave Loki, you leave Invis. There are too many options, and we did come up with a couple options, didn't we, Moxie?
Just one-shots, like anything but one-shots is honestly the answer to Cloak and Dagger. It's always been like a push and pull between Cloak and Dagger and Magneto, where everyone would just Meteor M the Cloak dash in the middle of Eternal Bond, and then Cloak and Dagger players actually started getting around that. The tech would be that you would start your Eternal Bond animation in cloak form rather than dagger, so that the second that you got out of the animation lock, you could go in with your iframe in anticipation of the Meteor M coming your way, or you would make sure that one of your dashes was either into cover to be able to block the Meteor M impact, or underneath one of your vanguards who would be able to shield you. Then obviously Magneto on the allied Cloak and Dagger play would also be able to provide bubble. But one of the other things that we've been seeing from time to time is Iron Man utilizing his maximum pulse to be able to one-shot, or as we saw yesterday, Namor with Luna getting the damage boosted Horn of Proteus, so that you can have that maximum one-shot value inside the inner circle and time it as the cloak is mid-dash.
And these might have to be the options, as we've been seeing consistently all day. The Magneto that we just went into all that analysis about is banned so consistently that it's not really an option that can be considered, at least at this stage. But of course, it does allow the EMEA to make it through, who can catch the cloak, but it's extremely difficult.
Yes, you have to be able to get your diamond form off, and then you have to be able to kick them out of the AoE strips of Eternal Bond. I'm not sure if we are going to see the Cloak and Dagger being removed from play, because Cloak and Dagger is strong, but Luna and Loki make other things in the team giga stronger and are also immensely strong strategist lineups. So no surprises that Yoinkanda are still going to be prioritizing taking the Loki, taking the Luna out of play. They do, however, have another ban slot, and Peps have not protected the Cloak and Dagger. Do Yoinkanda pivot into denying the CD from Peps's end now?
Punisher makes it onto the board once again. We just know that Black loves playing that Groot, so they're making sure they have that tool, Wolverine, removed to kind of telegraph that that might be what they're trying to do. And they do not ban out the Cloak and Dagger, keeping that focus onto the Wolverine. But now with the last protection, it looks like we'll see Yoinkanda with their own Punisher.
Yeah, so Punisher's going to both have the mirror matchups. Magneto being off the board for both teams is also going to be able to give the Punishers better strengths. However, Peps have the last ban, so they can start targeting some of the things that this composition wants to be able to play around. If EMEA and Punisher are taken off of the table, they can't target those down. What they can do, though, is remove the Storm. Yet again, as we have seen, they've tried to get away with one-sided Storm, and it didn't work out the greatest on domination. But now that we're into Midtown, well, that's another matter entirely. There's a lot of really good levels of verticality. There's a lot of really good cover that Leaf can take advantage of. Something to note, though, is that Peps innovated the Defender's free fight spawn holds, and Midtown has seen a whole new evolution of spawn hold now coming on into the Season 2 meta.
We saw it earlier, but the question is, have Yoinkanda also been practicing it? Are they going to try it, or is this just a little bit of pre-armor before they leave the spawn? We will find out as we head on into Midtown, heading to Avengers Tower with Herbie. And will this be heading on into the upper bracket for Team Peps?
Yeah, we're anticipating this to be a free map series, so Yoinkanda are going to have to find some way of turning this around. Cloak and Dagger is definitely going to be something that they have to keep the eye on. Potentially they try and split Peps' attention so that Larry isn't able to stack as many of these Light Force daggers and also catch multiple bodies with all of the utilities, given how forward-facing a lot of those Cloak and Dagger beams are. And it does look like Etsu on that Wolverine is going to be trying to just pivot that attention a little bit further away as Peps play on the high ground, so no close hold coming on through. Leaf on the Storm just going to keep up consistent pressure coming on to these players of Yoinkanda, but also you can see pivoting the camera around and trying to figure out where Etsu and this Wolverine is flanking from.
We obviously can see him through the walls, but the players can't try to get around behind. And we are seeing Yoinkanda already making some good progress, pushing them back to ambulance, finding a lot of space. We mentioned it before, so much verticality on this map. Leaf is taking advantage of that and is sieging in from a distance and while damage boosting their team when needed and speed boosting to make sure they can stay mobile to try and avoid that Wolverine who comes on in, targeted, and it's not going to be enough for the finishing blow, but they will finally lock them down. Etsu just refuses to get KO'd.
Yeah, Etsu refusing to go down, thanked in part by that Wolverine's passive. But we've already got the first ultimate on the field. In this boundary to counterplay it, Monkmother's final judgment does come out in a glorious triangling prism from Blacks. Almost catches them on the outside of the Invis ultimate. Actually forces Larry into having to invest the Eternal Bond. So both strategist ultimates burned on the side of Peps in one singular fight.
But they did do so to hold the line, and they burned a lot of ultimates from the side of Yoinkanda as well. Monkmother and Sylvie both going down. And with Beetle, Hardest, and Leaf still having those ultimates available, straggling Prison into a Mega Hurricane. We talked about it in game number 1. They have the potential for it now, with only Vertigo having that Eternal Bond as the counter currently.
True, but remember, Wolverine's damage gets amplified off of health pool percentile, and Leaf is going to have a lot of HP inside that Omega form. Hardest goes in with the final judgment. Leaf doesn't even utilize the ultimate, it's just Pocket Punisher coming through right now. Lovely diamond form into hold onto Blacks just to keep him in position for the Punisher ultimate to melt down the group before strangling Prison can come out from Yoinkanda's end. And Vertigo invested the Eternal Bond in that fight too. DOP comes out with the late Psionic Seduction to just stop Yoinkanda's clean disengagement as Peps understand they can push for more here.
Last Stand trying to dive onto him, and Monkmother takes out Beetle and the Omega Hurricane in the building to try and capitalize, to try and stop this counter push and give Beetle time to reform, but gets walled in for just a second. Is able to back away, but loses all of that bonus health as another final judgment is coming out. Struggling Prison, and good night. Yoinkanda are heading to point 1, but Beetle is already on the Strange.
Yeah, that wombo combo. Aura Sealer is going to tap onto this point just to stall it out long enough for the Strange TP to come through. The recontest from Peps. DMP is also swapped onto the Captain America just to have a little bit more tankiness. Survivability, however, will be punched through almost immediately with the focus fire coming on out from Yoinkanda's end as they dispatch that last second recontest. And that last second recontest is going to pay for Peps' distance now, because look at the amount of room that Yoinkanda have to work with. All of B is free real estate, which means all of the setup plays for Etsu on the Wolverine.
Playing up on the high ground, group walls on the ceiling, getting targeted down thanks to the rapid you mentioned. Wolverine finds onto the group and it gets immediately caught out, pulled in with that force physics, trying to focus once again onto Black's. Hardest with the final judgment is melting through everyone, pushing them back, and will keep control. And once again force a reset as Vive.
Oh,
Peps take back control.
Etsu?
Oh, hello.
Etsu's position right now is so far behind Peps. If they don't scout check this Wolverine, worse, if they have to use oh no, they break the turret!
Oh.
He doesn't manage to find the grab onto the Punisher as Hardest falls out of his CC!
Not able to get the elimination. This does mean that Etsu is spotted, but they are able to back up into their team, looking for the reset. Omega Hurricane straggling Prison once again ready on the other side. Black's just about to have their own straggling Prison. Etsu dropped incredibly low as a Psionic Seduction is going to come out, forcing the Omega Hurricane. But yeah, no, I don't really want to deal with that. They just disengage with it.
Yeah, full disengagement. Omega Hurricane traded for an Eternal Bond, Psionic Seduction, and Final Judgment, all coming through from Yoinkanda's end. They do have to be careful though, as Blackside is going to have the Strangling Prison. But where's the Wombo? It might just be default damage from that Wolverine. As Psionic Seduction now comes out from DRP. Peps trying to retake back into this, but Beal goes lower and lower as Blacks will stay standing longer and longer, and Peps are falling apart at the seams.
Aura Stealer is all that's left, gets taken down to prevent the stagger, and we will see Peps forced back to point number 3. Yoinkanda have the momentum right now, forcing them into spawn so they can teleport out.
Leave. He's actually going to go for the Winter Soldier. He's seen the amount of momentum that Yoinkanda are getting, also the forward positions that all of these individual players are holding. And he's now going to be onto the Bucky with Bionic Hook to potentially punish if they're split and separated, as well as looking for hooks onto that Groot. Etsu, though, look at the position that the Wolverine is taking. He's looking for that flank angle. He's waiting for someone to walk around that corner and get grabbed.
Trying to find a target, but instead going to get targeted down, picked off by Aura Stealer. In the meantime, Beetle has swapped off of the Groot, is now back on Captain America, and is in the back line, causing issues, allowing so much room for Peps. They regroup, and they've set up on the cart, holding it at the top of the stairs of the fifth building.
Yeah, Yoinkanda now potentially going to have to part with one of their ultimates, and Peps will just be able to back off and play that corner. The hook comes on through. Leaf manages to fish out the Groot. It's going to be Eternal Bonds now coming out from Yoinkanda's end. Monkmother trying to find the picks through the invis boundary, finds hardest on the other side. Beetle with the Freedom Charge has to try and give Peps the sustainability as Leaf is playing on card, stalling it out and getting a Kraken impact off.
Trying to find the turnaround. Kraken Impact's coming in from Etsu, gets the double, finds Leaf, who, like you said, was playing a bit far back, trying to get a capitalization, but they had no follow-up due to Black's landing that strangling prison. They weren't able to drop it, but they have held onto their ultimate. Etsu, no more worlds to conquer, so they'll just use it for a little bit of verticality.
Yeah, Yoinkanda getting to utilize the wombo combo there. Groot scooping everyone in, and Kraken Impacts managing to take onto everyone. Leaf is not going to have that same level of luxury, so Yoinkanda playing much more split in anticipation of the Winter Soldier. Oh, what a hook! Trooper's Fist sends the ammo directly into Yoinkanda's back line. An Eternal Bond is broken. It's not going to be in time to save the Vanguard. Peps down one, have no choice but to invest ultimates.
They're pushing on in. Sylvie will drop the invisible boundary for the count. It's the only ultimate they have available, but Vertigo about to have an Eternal Bond of their own. Etsu finds Larry. Hardest is falling, and while the entrance to the spawn is that doorway there, they're creating so much space already. Blacks is walling out. Monkmother through the invisible boundary, melting everyone with Etsu finding the final hits with the Kraken Impact. This is going to be the triple for Yoinkanda.
Yeah, Black's out is just having so much more follow-up with this group, with the Strangling Prison. Every single time Yoinkanda uses Strangling Prison, it's finding value. It's either forcing ultimates because it's scooping everyone on the side of Peps outside of that invis boundary, or it's getting paired up with either Etsu or Monkmother coming and prove the Kraken Impact of the Final Judgment. When Beetle is going for those Strangling Prisons, we don't see that same level of follow-up coming on out from the side of Peps. And a lot of the time, too, Peps were getting punished with the positions that they were taking, where Etsu was able to tease. And Larry would try and use the Eternal Bond to save the player, but the heal only starts coming through once the dash animation has completed the first time. And even then, a lot of the time, Bionic Hook into Trooper's Fist means that they're so far away, the distance that first dash reaches is not enough to connect when a player gets grabbed out.
I don't want to alarm you, but Blacks is starting on the Penny and Vertigo is starting on the Rocket while they're on defense, and they haven't swapped off yet. Maybe they're armoring, but if so, they're taking a long time to do it.
Oh, no, that's the close hold.
Yes.
Okay, so this
is... the door, though.
Yeah, this is interesting because some teams, this was the original close hold on Midtown where everyone would sequester themselves up on this left side of the map rather than the right side. The difference is, though, that all of those walls are breakable. As we're going to be seeing Peps swap onto, is it the full counter composition to this? Yeah, there's the Squirrel Girl. There's the Storm. Triple Duelist comes into the mix, and if Yoinkanda decide to play themselves into a small space, well, that's Squirrel Girl having an absolute time of it. As Leaf with the Goddess Boost is going to give everybody damage boost, and poor Yoinkanda are just stuck in a corner. But Blacks actually finds the first pick onto Hardest with the mine.
The Nest picks up hardest. They're holding the line while they're getting targeted and sieged by the Squirrels. Finally, DRP is going to find the opening, pushing on in, looking to try and wrap around for the lockdown with the Squirrel Guard and the unbeatable Squirrel Tsunami to clean out the room. That is going to be a team wipe. Everyone else who survives is retreating, gets the pick up onto Sylvie, who was trying to pull a sneaky one, but that is going to be Peps breaking the whole, but they did burn almost a full minute.
No, okay, there's the strange TP. I was going to say, the free fight map hold does hinge on a strange TP coming into play, as it's going to be black swapping over to the strange, so no Groot on the side of Yoinkanda right now, as onto main roads they're going to portal, not onto payload. So instead of free fights, we're down to 2, as DRP keeps up the spam, keeps up that pressure. Leaf with the Omega Hurricane is going to be looking to pair it up with the Strangling Prison, as DRP is just an absolute menace right now, forcing so many of these cooldowns. Yoinkanda sitting on a horde of ultimates, but who's going to get to use that first? Is Beetle with the Strangling Prison, and it's not even a Mega Hurricane, it's just basic Goddess boost from the Storm, and Hardest with the Final Judgment, ripping, tearing, shredding through 2 strategist ultimates.
Even taking out the Cosmic Yard Amplifier, Monkmuna takes out Hardest in the end, but once again it is Yoinkanda getting cleaned up. We called about the potential for a solo Vanguard composition, and Vive forced into one. Peps will lock it in. They haven't needed to swap yet, as they will cruise on into point number 1.
They're going to have the Squirrel Tsunami as well.
They can't swap yet.
Next fight, which is really bad news for Yoinkanda, because normally the first fight that we see the defenders take is inside that small tunnel just there. Beetle's looking to try and force them right back into that space tier. The walls, the seed bombs, all keeping up the pressure. Good force physics does connect onto the group, stopping Beetle's shenanigans as Blacks crests the high ground. Thinks about potentially threading an Eye of Agamotto, and the Hardest on this Punisher is absolutely unstoppable. They're all forced into a small space. DRP is holding the Squirrel Girl ultimate, just waiting for the right opportunity.
They force them down the stairs. The team is completely split. Monkmuna drops low, but will get topped back up. Sylvie gets found on the isolated side, able to get away, but has that Eye of Agamotto. Monkmuna with the Final Judgment. They can try and blow up Peps here, but they've got to be prepared for the Squirrels.
Have they cleared the range? No, they haven't! He comes on through, but the Gorilla from Beetle blocks the Eye of Agamotto follow-up, and Beetle Strangling Prison is the thing that connects instead. Hardest overlaps the Punisher Final Judgment. The blind from Larry, the Terror Cape accuracy catches all of the players of Yoinkanda, and it's just over in a flash. B picked up for Peps, and they head into C with almost 5 minutes in the pocket.
Will they finally swap off of the Squirrel Girl? It's kind of working, though, running this solo Vanguard to bring back that second Vanguard if they want to. Currently, though, they do have 17k damage with 20 KOs. At this point, if it's working, do they just want to keep going?
Oh no, Etsu gets picked before Dancer the Butterflies can force the invis boundary. Peps has so much momentum. Blacks has finally offered the Strange onto the Groot, but that just means that DRP and Hardest are going to be ripping those Groot walls down far faster than he can put them up. And this is Peps with the high ground angle, just getting to just deny all of the off angles that Yoinkanda want to take. The closer you play, the more value the Squirrel Girl finds. Even gets to scout check Etsu before he can come on for the ultimate again.
Psionic Seduction to try and lock them in. Auracila with the invisible boundary, keeping the team topped up as they push on in. Dance of the Butterflies and Strangling Prison. This is the commitment from Yoinkanda, trying to get onto Hardest, and they will be able to win the 1v1. But in the meantime, DRP is finally taken out. It looks like Yoinkanda, slow but steady, may be able to win a fight. So Mega Hurricane is getting targeted down here, but Leaf is committing everything to this.
Sylvie holds on to Invis boundary as well, refuses to pop with the ultimate, understands that a Mega Hurricane is not the thing that you have to worry about, it's Strangling Prison. That and Squirrel Girl Stampede, because DRP is still on the Squirrel Girl and still holding onto the Tsunami. Is the ripple effect, the one drop in the ocean, going to be the Squirrel Girl ultimate that blows points the open? Strangling Prison comes on through, the Grey Walls come on down, Monkmuna with the Final Judgment rips through the defenses of Peps, and a fast fight cements Yoinkanda's hold yet again.
and Sylvie still has that invisible boundary. Yoinkanda are just trying to stagger, and DRP is stuck in the constant loop of, oh, don't worry, I'll swap when I ult. Oh, we're still winning. I guess I'll keep going. Oh, no, I have ult again. Just constantly trapped on this squirrel girl. But the thing is, they have more ultimates now. They can try and commit, they can try and dive, and they can try and burst. They're just sieging through these group walls so quickly.
Where's Etsu? He's looking for the backline. Out comes the dance of the butterflies, and away goes DRP. Hardest had the final judgment too, but he gets taken down mid-ultimate as Peps didn't commit a strategist ultimate to keep himself standing. They decided to hold on to them before we head into this next fight, as they've still got to find a way to break through the fortification that Yoinkanda have around the fist building.
Back to second Vanguard. We're already in DRP, up to 69% for that side introduction, but Snae's already charged up. It's 2-2 currently in form of ultimate. Make it 3 as Yoinkanda charge up quickly. Beetle getting targeted so aggressively here. Zion introduction for the commitment. We're seeing Yoinkanda go on the aggressive because they have so much time to get through. That is a multi-person lockdown with the side introduction straggling Prism for the turnaround attempt, but they can't seem to out-damage the healing.
And this boundary, late from Aura Steel, is going to keep everyone intact on the side of Peps. DRP with Psionic Seduction too means that no one can try and turn around and dispatch the Kraken impacts as Leaf comes on forward, finally finds the picks. But Yoinkanda, we went into this 4.5 minutes on the bank for Peps. Now they've got one more fight and potentially a contest at the finish line with under a minute. Strangling Prison and potentially a combination of Final Judgment off of the back of it. But Yoinkanda still coming up with ultimate advantage, and if Etsu is in mid-ultimate state, he's not getting scooped by the Guru ultimate.
They're going to try and push on in. Here comes Sons of the Butterfly, dropped early. If they can try and stagger early, remove some of these pickups, then they will have a huge advantage as the time goes on, but they don't find a single pickup. Etsu is dropped extremely low, is forced to back away, but Monk Muda will find Beetle. Hardest looking for the turnaround, but it's picked off! Monk Muda wins the 1v1 as they push on in. They stagger 2 members of Peps, and they're still pushing back.
Yoinkanda now just pushing Peps further and further around the corner. Beetle, no choice. Hand has been forced, has to go for a teleport strange play onto that payload to hit into overtime. Larry is holding onto Eternal Bomb. This Cloak and Dagger has been the saving grace for this team before Strangling Prison from Black scoops everyone off, but they don't find the picks up of the back of it because Larry's got the sustainability. Out it comes onto the main road. Vertical matching his a little bit later. Snae's gonna hit the win condition. Sylvie too, about to hit Invis Boundary at the same time as Aura Steel, who finds the first pick. Etsu gets taken down. Yoinkanda still holding onto their Invis Boundary, investing it later after Aura Steel, as they just have to live a little bit longer as they've been able to deny the Kraken impact. And Peps now have to bank on Psionic Seduction, managing to get themselves over the finish line, and it might just be enough. Sylvie is down. Vertigo falls. Etsu coming back from spawn isn't going to be able to tap on in time, and that's going to be Peps taking it finally all the way.
In overtime, a little bit behind Yoinkanda, but they made it in the end. We are heading to our first official overtime of this series. If Yoinkanda can win it, we're heading to a map number 3. If Peps win it, they move on in the upper bracket. It comes down to this.
If you're Yoinkanda right now, you're thinking about how quickly Peps were able to take A and B off of the attempted spawn hold strategy. Yoinkanda have a little bit more time to think about whether or not they want to replicate those strategies, as they are going to be attacking first with Peps defending, and Peps decide that they're going to stay very far away from that spawn hold. It can be really, really strong if you manage to full hold and pull it off, but if you lose that fight and you get stuck on that one Vanguard rotation, the snowball play that can come through from the attacking side is something they just cannot allow with what little time bank both of these teams have.
Looking at these stats here, Hard is 16 final hits, Monk Muda with 16, Etsu with 15. Leaf has 9, but the ones they have got have been so important, finding those Kraken impacts in that final fight. And that multi-man bionic hook was what allowed them to turn that round, landing a multi-person stun, which gave them the opening to push in for that final third cap. It comes down to if Yoinkanda can close them in with 1 minute and 28 for Yoinkanda, 1 minute for Peps.
DRP already on the Squirrel Girl, sees out that it's not going to be a spawn hold, swaps immediately onto the Emma. as it's going to be everyone on side of Yoinkanda. Just hold up on that high ground. Edsu trying to build up Kraken impact as quickly as possible. Hardest on the Punisher turret, already allowing that payload to start moving around the first corner as Leaf tries to dispatch the Punisher turret on his other side, utilizing the Trooper's Fist just barely, managing to make it around the corner. The same cannot be said for Hardest, though. The Punisher is down. Yoinkanda's not blood in the water, and like sharks, they gather, ripping and tearing, taking away Peps' regroup status.
18 seconds remaining. Peps need to make their way onto this card. They can't afford to get taken out again. Hardest trying to whittle people down from below. Weaken them. Has the culling turret if they want for the option as the final judgment is coming in for Monkmortar. Takes out DRP. And it's a chase all the way back to spawn. No one's there for the delay. It's a hold at 57 meters, 30 centimeters.
Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. They're still entirely winnable. But it's going to likely be a close hold coming through. And yeah, there it is. DOP's already on the penny.
With 50% more time, Yoinkanda have everything going in their favor, and Team Peps say it's time for just delays. It doesn't matter what we do, just every single second counts, so just make every step as hard to take as possible. They're looking at possibly a triple Vanguard here being hovered as DRP on the penny. Leaf looking to potentially go for the EMEA.
Okay, I like the triple Vanguard play, because what you're doing is guaranteeing Larry is the first one in this entire lobby to hit ultimate. If you hit Eternal Bond, you win. Nothing's gonna be able to get a pick through that. Not that early on. The problem is that Yoinkanda on the attack, if you go for this hold in this little building that DRP is currently fortifying right now with all of the penny nests, Yoinkanda have the ability to see this out and swap to a duelist heavy composition that shreds through any sustainability that Cloak and Dagger can offer neutral. Especially if Vertigo is going to go onto the Mantis and you're just going to damage boost every single one of your duelists.
They're looking at the Moon Knight. That could be the perfect duelist for if you can just get the shots into this building. You can just try and bounce those shots onto the penny. That's exactly what's happening here. Arc is dropped. They're rushing on through, and immediately the position has been surrendered.
Yeah, Edsu on this Moon Knight is still getting to punish too, because you catch them on the disengage, they're still stacked up, they're getting all of the Onk bounces, and Edsu is an absolute monster, about to hit first ultimate, and you can just put it on the point. Peps have no choice, it's so close to the finish line. Someone's got to step up to the plate and contest. Sylvie finds the first pick, Beetle is taken down. Peps will be able to answer it back though with the revive. The BRB from the rocket brings Beetle back into the mix, and DRP just sitting there with the CC that Penny affords, not allowing Yoinkanda a single inch.
Moving up to the high ground to make sure that they have the defense on the flank just in case someone wraps around. Yoinkanda creeping forward. They've got 30 seconds left. They've got to move approximately 20 meters in order to try and lock this in. Beetle is holding the line, trying to open up as Yoinkanda have created a massive concave, completely surrounding the members of Peps.
Larry does have Eternal Bond. Vertigo a little bit behind on it. You have to be careful too that you don't dash into one of those penny mine one-shots, as Peps are still trying to fortify themselves. Blacks holding the line, takes the generator down. No mines to have to worry about. Out comes the Eternal Bond to try and live everybody through the final judgment from Monkmortar. Yoinkanda throwing every single ultimate at the wall. It's right here, right now. Every single player presses their buttons to see who's going to be able to live longer, and the answer is Peps. DRP managed to hold that position. Yoinkanda are reduced to the 2. Make that the 1. Snaze holds the line with Psionic Seduction, but it's not to be. And Peps though just have to deal with the respawn. Eternal Bond from Yoinkanda. They do have the faster, the closer respawn. Out comes Monkmortar on the Iron Man armor overdrive, being utilized, burning, blitzing through all of the players from Peps. Belief with their own Psionic Seduction. Taunts, silences, stops Yoinkanda from positioning.
And they can't reach in time. Snaze tries to rush in with the Carbon Crush, but they are zoned off the point. The silent introduction of the group walls kept them too far away. The penny damage making the objective just too painful to stand. And Team Peps take the 2-0.
We said that stranger things have happened. We also discussed how just well adjusted Peps are to those close holds. They are the team that engineered the composition, the strategy in the first place. What better team to be able to pull off a close to hold on Midtown than Team Peps? And they do it again.
DRP with the casual 30k damage on the Vanguard while also playing Squirrel Girl for a large chunk of that game. Harness with the Strange Portal to reinforce. They could have been picked off. They were eliminated very early by Monk Mura in that fight, so they made a sensible decision. No egos, only defense. Coming back in, making this a 4 Vanguard comp at the end just to make sure that bodies were on the point.
Yeah, crazy plays as well from Beetle. Over 100,000 damage blocked.
Oh my
coming
God.
on through from that Vanguard. Then again, they were on group for the majority of the mixes. They were the solo Vanguard when we saw the duelist heavy composition coming on through from the side of Peps, just taking full advantage, snowballing down Yoinkanda when they had so little Vanguards to be able to play with. As Peps, it was rough, definitely, when we headed into C, but the second that they were able to just get that payload over the finish line, they could turn their sights to that sense of comfort. Like DRP here, just being able to send in that Squirrel Girl Tsunami and deny the close hold from Yoinkanda in its entirety was insane, because when Peps break that close hold, they get multiple picks, as opposed to Yoinkanda, they only found the one, and since Rocket is in play, BRB Station brought them back immediately into the mix.
They just always had presence. They put when someone went down. You mentioned the Battle Rebirth beacon brought them back. When someone got picked off again, they swapped to the Strange. They always just prioritized being on the board. Nothing else mattered. When they were targeted and tried to be pushed out of the objective, they ran back in and flanked and repositioned. They even flanked with Penny to just try and make sure that the objective was being held, with the spider spawners on the objective to just make it rough to stand there, and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, that penny generator, like, you having to go into some really tricky positions to break it, right? Because if you try and pick yourselves through the penny nest, you potentially run into those minefields, and you will not have a fun time if so. But then again, if you're trying to use a strategist ultimate, inside those penny nests, you do need to clear the nests before you utilize it. So like you said, them doing a very good job of just putting those generators in really tough positions, forcing Yoinkanda out of position, keeping the penny anchoring on the payload too, getting to play inside her nest so that she has that continuous heal tick coming on through as we finally, it's been so long, we finally get to see actual meta Penny Parker strategies, because until this moment, the only time that we would ever see Penny Parker in full professional esports play would be on Holo Tajalia, when Penny Parkers in attacker spawn would find the lineups and send those mines and connect onto the defenders as they walked out of Garage.
We saw a little bit in some more amateur play, but these teams, they found a completely different style of play here to just make sure that they can mine up the biotic spider nests, plus that 50 armor that was constantly coming out because they did have the team up with the rocket. It gave them so much extra stickiness as well. This patch has done so much for Penny, and while it's not viable every game, they found the opening and they found the opportunity. And Team Peps, you talked about it, they innovated this kind of spawn hold, and they use it to great effect here.
Yeah, Peps, there's one team you never want to be in a potential full hold situation, and it's Peps, because they will be able to pull through. They're such a good team at just isolating you down, at being able to deny those first picks coming on through from the attacker's side, especially with the Rocket BRB. Like, it really did feel like, especially when we saw the Mantis coming on through from Yoinkanda, that they would have the damage boost, they would have the inspiration onto the Moon Knight, those Onks would bounce, they would absolutely just shred through everybody. But it was denied immediately as everyone from Peps spotted it out and just went, okay, we're going to have to change strategy. Everyone out of the small room, onto main road we go, but we can still full hold.
And we have our interview ready and waiting. We have Leaf from Team Peps coming in. And for starters, welcome, congratulations on what must have been a rough game.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy about our performance. I'm still stressing so much from the match. It was very intense, but I'm very happy we won.
It was incredibly intense. Like that full hold that you all had to pull off, and then also the overtime that was coming in, Yoinkanda having so much closer respawns. Talk us through a little bit what was going down, because obviously picks were coming out left and right from both teams. Yoinkanda having the closer respawns are going to be able to come back into the fight so much faster. What were comms like in that moment?
I think for like a few seconds, no one was talking because we started losing the fight, and we were like, oh, it's okay, go for next map. Then Beetle got a huge Groot ult, and everyone started screaming random words. I started to kill people that was all screaming. Artist was calling that he was tipping, and I still have no clue we won this fight. I guess I have to watch that, but yeah, it was pure chaos.
And you were also able to land a multi-man bionic hook in that last push of the second round there. Was the call out for that just trying to target a quick elimination? Because you held on to that Kraken impact for quite a while.
Well, it's all mind game between the Groot and the Bucky. And I know Blacksu a lot, I've played against him a lot. And I know I'm confident enough that I can get some hooks into him. So I always call it for my team that, okay, I'm gonna try to hook, be ready to follow. But I guess I got a bit lucky because every time I got multiple people with one hook. But yeah, we try to play around it, that's why we swapped the Storm to Bucky, try to have like more clutch potential.
We saw you try to run the Storm multiple times, both on Midtown and then on Domination as well. Was there a particular reason other than playing into the retake that the Storm just wasn't working on that Domination round?
I don't really know exactly. I think the fact that they have Wolverine changes a lot of things. And we struggled a bit. I still think that Storm is fine, but maybe because it was an official game, we were all stressed, we were all talking more. Maybe swapping from something that is very like, let's say like disciplined to something like more trying to clutch potential was maybe better for us. That's why I felt like I was gonna swap Storm to Bucky. But I still think Storm is overall a better pick in this composition, but it worked out.
And we have to ask about it, of course. In overtime, a minute and a half left, you guys decide triple Vanguard, Penny, Rocket, Lockdown. How long have you been cooking it? Do you feel it works as well as you expected? Because it did win.
I think the last time we played something like this was during trials for the team, which is like at least 2 months ago. We never played something like this, ever. We saw some teams playing it, so we had an idea about how we want to do it, but we were very lost. That's why we were moving around trying to find where we should play. But yeah, it was just a last minute try because we were getting all so close that we had to do something.
Another close hold, perfectly pulled off for Peps. You guys must be incredibly happy. Thank you so much for joining us, Leaf. Congratulations on the win. We'll let you get back to the rest of your team and de-stress, de-escalate from what was definitely a very tense couple of rounds coming on through.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And with that, our day is approaching its ultimate game. We have one series left for you, ladies and gentlemen, and I've been keeping a little peek on the chat, and they agree that this is one to look forward to. Zero Tenacity versus Blood Karyudo is going to be our next map. We've got top-level players from MRI, we've got top-level players from MRC, including an ex-console champion for Season 0, but first, let's look about what we're going to be seeing over the next couple days. With Peps moving on, they'll be playing against Insomnia, whereas Yoinkanda will move down to the lower bracket to play against Dusty.
Yeah, it wasn't quite a 3-0, but with how close, it might as well.